Let's solder in the rest of the group 3 parts, starting with the diode. What you want to do with the diode is you want to line the bar up on the diode with the dot on the circuit board and then solder it in. Like any 2-pin component, you want to put a little bit of solder down on one pad and then tack it down. Here you can see that I've soldered it in a little bit too high, so I'm going to have to recenter that. So that looks much better. Let's go ahead and tack down the other side. I'm giving a little bit of push on the top just to make sure it's flat on the circuit board. So let's solder in the LM358 op amp, and we're going to do this just like the processors. I'm going to put a little bit of solder down on one pin and tack down one corner. Now when you put part down, make sure you align the dot on the part with the dot on the circuit board. So here I'm trying to solder down the first pin, and I'm trying to get the pads centered on the component leads, and I'm trying to get the right toe spacing on each side. Once I've got one side down, I go ahead and I solder in the opposite corner. And you can see here I've got lots of solder jump to the component lead, but that's actually not even soldered down. I can actually give that a little push and it's loose. When it's soldered, you'll see the solder fillet wick between the pad and the lead. So let me just touch that up. And now I'm going to solder in the rest of them pretty much like I did the processor. Let's move on to the FET, which is right beside the 358. It's a 3-pin component. It's the only one on the circuit board. If you look very carefully at the package, it's got a 340 on it, so you can identify it. You do it just like the other ones. You tack down one corner first, and then you solder down the other 2 pins. And then finally U4, which is a 3.3 volt voltage regulator. It's a 5-pin part, but I do it the same as the other ones. Tack down one leg, and then when you've got that one positioned and it's centered properly, sometimes it's a little tricky because it wants to ride up on top of the solder. There we go. So now I've got it centered. Let's go ahead and solder the other ones. That finishes the group 3 parts. Next up is the power supply.